good to go here? He's on. Am I on? Okay, cool. I can't hear a single thing up here, so. Okay. So, if you guys haven't kind of figured out by now, we are the summer students for the summer 2018. My name is Ben.
My name is Jonathan.
And today, I lied, that's not where we're going next. I guess today we're just going to tell you some of the stuff that's going on this summer, and kind of a little bit of where we think God's leading us this summer and stuff, and what He has planned. So throughout the summer, we're going to be doing lots of fun activities and stuff like that, but our primary focus is going to be 4 summer skills camps throughout the summer. So the first one we're going to be doing is there's a camp called Create. And basically what this camp is it's a camp where kids get to come and learn how to do different cooking and baking things, and different crafts and stuff like that, just where they get to come and create things.
The second camp we have is called Adventure Camp, where the kids will come and it'll be 4 days of themed awesomeness, where they'll get to meet different characters such as knight, cowboys, a few other characters, and learn about Jesus.
The second one that we're going to be doing, or I lied, the third one, is a sports camp. That one, they're just, kids get to develop their sports skills through different drills and activities, and maybe some games and stuff like that.
The final camp that we have is Performance Camp, where the kids will be able to let out their active side a bit, be able to learn how to speak in front of people, and just have a little bit of fun with all of that.
And the last camp we're going to be doing is a camp called... Sorry, I'm trying to do 2 things at once right now. Okay. There is no camp after that. That is a total of 4. So, sorry, I'm a little bit all over the place right now. We want to thank you guys. Before we go into kind of our message and our vision for this summer, we just want to thank you guys for encouraging and supporting us so far, and just for praying that God does really amazing things this summer. And we want to encourage and ask that you guys keep on praying big prayers, just that God moves in really cool ways, and that as Natasha has kind of taken on, that God shows up and shows off. So without further ado, we've been asked to share our vision and mission for the summer, so here we go.
Now, as Natasha was talking about last week, it's harder than ever for the gospel to take root, as some of me have never even heard of it. And so this means we're going to be starting at ground zero with the kids that come here. It doesn't mean that's a hopeless situation, though. We're going to take a look at 1 Corinthians 3, 1-15, as Paul is dealing with something a bit similar to this. Brothers, I could not address you as spiritually, but as worldly, mere infants in Christ. I gave you milk, not solid food, for you were not yet ready for it. Indeed, you are still not ready. You are still worldly. For since there is jealousy and quarreling among you, are you not worldly? Are you not acting like mere men? For when one says, I follow Paul, and another, I follow Apollos, are you not mere men? What after all is Apollos, and what is Paul? Only servants through whom you came to believe, as the Lord assigned to each his task. I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God made it grow. So neither he who plants nor he who waters is anything, but only God who makes them grow. The man who plants and the man who waters have one purpose, and each will be rewarded according to his own labor. For we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field, God's building. By the grace God has given me, I laid a foundation as an expert builder, and someone is building on it. But each one should be careful how he builds. For no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid, which is Jesus Christ. If any man builds on this foundation using gold, silver, costly stones, wood, hay, or straw, his work will be shown for what it is, because the day will bring it to the light. It will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test the quality of each man's work. If what he has built survives, he will receive his reward. If it is burned up, he will suffer loss. He himself will be saved, but only as one escaping the flames. So, just for a little background on Corinth, it was an important city in Greece, as it was a central hub for culture and commerce throughout all of Greece. It was also home to many Greek gods such as Apollo, Aphrodite, Athena, just to name a few. And the population was pretty big for it, between 150,000 to 350,000, plus 460,000 slaves. Quite the big city for its time. Now, Paul stayed in Corinth for about 18 months, and as a result, planted a church there on a second missionary trip between 50 AD and 52 AD. Now, this just goes to show that the gospel, even in a city where there's so many different error beliefs, the gospel is still more powerful than them. Now, when Paul heard of church disputes there, sexual morality and questions from the Corinthian church, he wrote 4 letters to them. 1 Corinthians being the second of them, which was written around 55 AD, addressing the issues that the church was dealing with. So, with some of the background from the Corinthian church in mind, we're going to delve a little bit deeper into the passage. Now, in verses 1 to 3, Paul says he cannot address them as he would other Christians. He has to address them as people who are still worldly. Now, that doesn't mean they are not Christians, but because they're poor and they're jealous of each other and have so many other issues, he has to go back to the basics with them. That's why he says they're still not ready for solid food. Instead, they need milk. Essentially, as basic the gospel message as he can give them. Milk, of course, being for infants, they would not be able to understand anything deeper, spiritual meat, as you could say. Now, that's what it's going to be like for us this summer. As I said before, many of these kids will have never heard the gospel message before, and so we need to start at the beginning, making the gospel as simple as possible for them. That Jesus loves them and wants to have a relationship with them. Overcomplicating it would just cause the gospel to go over their heads. Moving on to verses 4 to 9, Paul addresses the issue of some people saying that they follow Paul or they follow Apollos, reminding them that they are only servants of Christ. Each assigned their role in sharing the gospel message. Paul planted a church in Corinth, Apollos then watered, nurturing the church. Throughout all this, though, God is the one who's making the church grow. Paul and Apollos were assigned their task and will be rewarded for doing the task that was given to them, but only that one task. Now, I would love to see every kid that comes here to the summer camps give their lives to Jesus, but there's a good chance that may not happen. Our role may be to just break up the soil and share the gospel message with them for the first time to begin to open their hearts. Someone else further down the road will then plant the seed, another person will water it, and then finally someone at the end will harvest, leading that person to Jesus. Now, that may be at these summer camps, that may be in a few months later on in the school year, or that could be 20 to 30 years down the road. God will be working on their hearts through every single stage as he is the one who grows the seed. We have the privilege to come alongside God as co-workers, whatever the task God has given to us for the summer, whether at the beginning, the middle, or the end. And to round off with verses 10 to 15, Paul speaks of how he has laid a foundation for them, but did so wisely, and others should as well. Of course, he didn't have to create something new. Jesus Christ, because of his death and resurrection, is the foundation. So Paul simply brought Jesus Christ to them. He goes on to say that those who build on this foundation should be careful with what material they use, as a day will come when their work is put to the test through fire, to see if it will survive. If their work passes, the worker will receive a reward. If the construction is burned up, the worker will still be saved, though is the only one that escaped the flames. Now, with whatever task God has given us, we want to do our absolute best and be smart. If we are to only break up the soil, then we must work hard to make sure that the seed can be easily planted. If we are watering the seed, then we must be good caretakers of that seed. We can present Jesus to the kids, but if we do it with a little preparation, planning, thought, and lots of prayer, then we will have little impact on these kids' lives, and their faith will not be strong. It will be as if we used wood, hay, or straw, as mentioned in verse 12, which will burn up pretty quickly. Now, if we use costly stones, silver, or gold, put in a lot of effort, planning, brainstorming, and lots of prayer, the impact we will have for whatever task we are assigned will be immense, and the child's faith will be strong to face challenges and endure to the end. To recap all of that, we need to present the gospel message in a simple way, as many of the kids will have never heard before. We want to be faithful in whatever task God has given us, be it breaking up the soil or being able to see the child come to know Jesus. We know rushing into this would be foolish without planning prayer, so we need to work hard as co-workers with God, whatever task we are given.
So before I move into my section, we had a little skit planned for the start of this that kind of helps explain something later on. We ended up scrapping that. So when we get to that part, I'll explain what it was supposed to be. So, 1 Thessalonians 2, 1-12 says, "You know, brothers and sisters, that our visit to you was not without results. We had previously suffered and been treated outrageously in Philippi, as you know. But with the help of our God, we dared to tell you his gospel in the face of strong opposition. For the appeal we make does not spring from error or impure motives, nor are we trying to trick you. On the contrary, we speak as those approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel. We are not trying to please people, but God, who tests our hearts. You know we never use flattery, nor did we put on a mask to cover up our greed. God is our witness, or to cover up greed, God is our witness. We were not looking for praise from people, not from you or anyone else, even though as apostles of Christ we could have asserted our authority. Instead, we were like young children among you. Just as a nursing mother cares for her children, so we cared for you. Because we loved you so much, we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well. Surely you remember, brothers and sisters, the toil and hardship we worked night and day in order not to be a burden to anyone while we preach the gospel of God to you. You are witnesses, and so is God, of how holy and righteous and blameless we were among you who believed. For you know that we dealt with each of you as a father deals with his own children, encouraging, comforting, and urging you to live lives worthy of God, who calls you into his kingdom and glory." So, there's two kind of big ideas that Paul is talking about here. He's writing to the church of Thessalonica, saying two main things. The first is this idea of we want to make sure that we came to tell you these things not to build up ourselves, our own reputation, or for our own glory or praise, but because we've been sent on a mission commanded by God to spread the gospel, and we want to turn all of the attention back to him. So in preparing for this summer, one thing that Natasha had talked about with us in our training was to be aware of our shadow missions. These are things that can hide behind what our motivation, what we believe our motivation is. These shadow missions are exactly what Paul is talking about here. So as a team, we want to always remember to make sure that we are staying true to our motivation, and that everything we do this summer is pointing people to Jesus and making sure that he gets all the praise. In general, as Christians, this is something we need to remember to be aware of, as it's so easy to say, look what I did, or look what we did. When, as Jonathan said earlier, the reality is God says, no, look what I did through you. The second point is that they got down on the level of those they were sharing the gospel with. They didn't, come riding into town as holy messengers with a status higher than those they were sharing with. They came as regular people with really, really good news and a desire to live life with the people of Thessalonica. They thanked the church for giving them the chance to share the gospel with them, but also just for letting them live life together. Paul then talks about how he cared for them as a parent would care for their own child. This part is so important when it comes to sharing the gospel. We have identified this as a main focus specifically for this summer, but as for people who are called to share the gospel, we need to make this a focus for us every day, regardless of the role we are in. Sometimes we become so focused on the outcome and just getting the job done that we forget to do the job well. As Jonathan had mentioned earlier, it's more important for someone to establish a firm foundation for others, and for others to build on later, than for someone to try and do the job of a few different people. In this rush to see the end result, we focus, we got little Timmy over here, and we focus on little Timmy, the potential Christian who ends up just becoming a name on a registration page, or a project for us, and we forget about little Timmy, who is fearfully and wonderfully made and is loved deeply and passionately by Jesus. We want to make sure that if nothing else, these kids walk away knowing that they have a God that loves them and that won't abandon them or give up on them. So, the illustration that we were going to use earlier was, we had a tennis ball. Can you want to toss me the tennis ball there? And so what we were doing was, Jonathan was going to come up and just, throw it at the wall. I was going to come over and say, hey, Jonathan, what are you trying to do? Why are you just throwing a tennis ball at the wall? And he was trying to make the tennis ball stick to the wall. Now, it's a tennis ball, it's a ball, it bounces off of things, it doesn't stick to things. So, I was going to grab some duct tape and suggest to him, using an adhesive for something that doesn't normally stick to things that isn't, doesn't just stick to things on its own is typically fairly effective, and then, it's going to stick to the wall, even though I realized this morning that we hadn't actually tested it first. So it's kind of a good thing we ended up scrapping it just in case, because that could have created a problem and an awkward situation. But anyway, with that in mind, now that you guys know that, so our goal is not to just kind of throw the gospel at the kids and hope it sticks, like Jonathan was supposed to do with the ball earlier, but kind of take the gospel and all of its messiness, and all of the messiness in the people of the Bible, and just get down on the kids' level, and not just, try and rush through, get done as fast as we can, but really invest in them as people and as children of God, who are loved, like I said, loved deeply and passionately by Jesus. So I believe, that's the end of it. But if there's anything we've talked about this morning that has piqued your interest and said, you know what, I think God's going to do really cool and awesome things in the lives of, Pictou County as a whole, or in the kids of Pictou County, and even into the families of those kids and beyond, just feel free to catch one of us. If that's something you want to be a part of, whether it's, through volunteering or donating, paper towel rolls or toilet paper rolls, for crafts and stuff like that, come catch one of us either after the service or sometime through the week here at the church. And we'd love to just kind of talk to you and figure out how we can come alongside each other and do this together. So with all this being said, I'm going to invite the worship team back up now. But it would be a little bit silly to talk about all of this and then not lather and bathe it in prayer. So before we go into this last song, let's just pray that God does, amazing things beyond what we could ever imagine this summer.